was part of the show, a spontaneous trick. But as seconds passed, smiles faded. The whale wasn't releasing her. The water churned, the struggle obvious. Panic began to ripple through the stands. From that moment on, nothing would be the same, for Dawn, for Tilikum, or for SeaWorld. Beneath the surface, the scene was chaos. In an instant, the calm partnership between trainer and whale had dissolved into a deadly struggle. Tilikum, 12,000 pounds of raw muscle, now had Dawn in his grasp. Witnesses later described the violence in shocking detail. The massive black and white body thrashing in the water, his tail sending shockwaves through the pool. Each movement created a surge powerful enough to knock a grown man off his feet. Dawn fought to free herself, but against that size, that strength, the odds were impossibly stacked. Every time she reached for the surface, Tilikum's jaws would pull her back into the deep blue. On the pool deck, fellow trainers sprang into action. Emergency recall signals, sharp whistles, slaps on the water surface were deployed. A recall bucket, filled with fish and ice, was lowered in a desperate attempt to lure Tilikum away. Nothing worked. They tried nets, stretching them across the pool in hopes of creating a barrier. They waved and shouted from the edges, anything to break his fixation. But Tilikum was locked in. He ignored every cue, every command. He wasn't performing anymore. He was in control. 1:38 p.m., the moment of the initial grab. By 1:40 p.m., the first attempts to intervene had already failed. Trainers were shouting into radios, calling for security, for emergency responders. The crowd, now fully aware this was no act, began to scream and cry. From 1:40 to 1:45, the struggle continued. The water churned violently, turning frothy white. Trainers leaned dangerously close to the edge, trying to reach Dawn when she surfaced. But each time, Tilikum's massive head would roll, and she would vanish again. At approximately 1:48 p.m., Dawn broke the surface briefly, her face visible for just a second, before Tilikum pulled her under for the last time. The injuries she sustained were devastating. The official autopsy later revealed blunt force trauma from repeated impacts, drowning as the cause of death, broken ribs, a dislocated knee, and severe scalp avulsion. The ponytail that had once been her trademark ripped away in the attack. For years, Dawn had been Tilikum's trusted partner. She fed him, trained him, swam alongside him. That bond, so often romanticized in SeaWorld's glossy marketing, was shattered in less than 10 minutes. What had been a symbol of harmony between human and animal had now become a nightmare playing out before hundreds of horrified witnesses. For more than 45 minutes after the initial grab, Tilikum remained in possession of Dawn's body. Trainers and safety staff could only watch in horror, their options exhausted, their voices raw from shouting commands he ignored. Finally, whether from exhaustion or decision, Tilikum released her. Staff moved instantly. Her body was pulled from the water onto the pool deck. The stadium was nearly empty now. Families had been ushered out, leaving behind the eerie stillness that follows catastrophe. Paramedics were already on site. They began CPR immediately, chest compressions, rescue breaths, everything they could to reverse the unthinkable. But there was no pulse. Dawn had been under too long. The official cause of death, later released by the Orange County Medical Examiner, was blunt force trauma combined with drowning. The injuries were severe: broken bones,